Coming up, how to build full and complete blues solos with the smallest, simplest licks you could possibly imagine. So you just saw a glimpse of where we're heading in this video, but first I want to play a solo for you. It's a very unusual solo and I wonder if you can spot why. Now let me just say, it's not a great solo, but it's actually not a bad solo either, and that's important. Let's see what you think. So did you hear what was unusual? Well, of course, it was based entirely around one note, the root note, just played at different places around the neck. And this illustrates a really important point, that we don't ever need big, complicated licks. So we're going to look at some tiny 2 and 3 note licks, which add up to huge results. But first, let's just talk more about that one note solo. We'll be in the key of B minor here, so we're just going to play the root note of B. Now, of course, we can play it in lots of different places, and I don't think this is cheating, but we could slide into it or bend up to it, or maybe play 2 Bs at once in an octave like that. B.B. King really focused on root notes and often liked to play the exact same note on different strings, like moving from this B here on the high E to this one here on the B string to get that fuller tone. Then of course he liked to play it all the way up here, just on its own as kind of a fill in its own right. It's actually musically quite challenging using just one note, but what it does is really make us focus on rhythm, vibrato and touch, which is so important when it comes to getting that blues feel. Hopefully you can see there's a lot of mileage here even before we worry about what other notes to play. But of course we will want some more melodic content, so let's look at playing some 2 note licks. So we'll be working around the B minor pentatonic here. And the first 2 note lick we'll look at is simply to approach this B here, with the 9th fret on the D, from the A 2 frets below. This gives us a really strong resolution back into our root note of B. Of course we can just play it straight, or hammer on, or slide into it. So let's call this resolving from below. Then we can also resolve from above. So let's play this D, here the 7th fret on the G string, the note above the root in our pentatonic shape. So we're going to play the D and then resolve down to the B, but this time we can employ a really important blues technique, the microtonal bend. So play the D, then just before resolving to the B, bend it up very slightly, not to hit any other note, just to push it slightly sharp, and then resolve down to that B, and it has instant blues vibes. So now we can resolve from below up to the B and from above down to it, and we can combine these 2 together for longer licks. Then one more 2 note lick before we solo again, which is just to bend up on the 9th fret of the G string here and then release down. So the first note is the bend up and the second note is the release down to the unbent note. 1, 2. Now we'll call this the blue note bend, and you're about to see why. Because this bend has a lot of room for expression. A full bend of course gets you to the next pentatonic note, this F sharp here, that's the note you're aiming for. But a half bend gets you to this F natural here, the flat 5 or blue note as it's known. Now this blue note really delivers the archetypal blues sound, and by bending across it you can add different levels of blues flavour to your solo depending on how far you bend. So bigger bend up, not that bluesy, smaller bend, really bluesy. So now we have 3 different 2 note licks, the resolution from below, the resolution from above, and the blue note bend. So now back to the track, and hear how putting these tiny 2 note licks together really gets us into the full blues sound. Now in a moment we'll look at some 3 note licks, but first let's just take these 2 note licks a step further. With these licks, we don't need to be wedded to these middle strings, we can move them around. So instead of focusing on this B here, on the D string, as we have been doing, we could come up to this B here, 12th fret on the B string, and then resolve from below, resolve from above, or play the blue note bend directly on the string above it. Same with this B down here, resolve from below, resolve from above, blue note bend. This is a really simple way to think about moving in and out of this pentatonic shape we all so often get stuck in. So let's play the last solo again, but this time moving the licks around. So now on to the 3-note licks, which will really help us add energy to our playing. The first lick is simply bend up on the 9th fret of the G string, like we've seen already, and then play the 7th fret on the B, and then the 7th fret on the high E, with a little bar across to let them ring out together. Like that. Now, we can either play the B and E separately, or we can play them together and kind of strum across them twice. We'll call this the Chuck Berry lick, as he made it so famous. Then the second 3-note lick we'll call the blue note triplet, because we start on the blue note here, with the 10th fret of the G string, play a triplet by then sliding up to the 11th, and then playing the 10th on the B string. So 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. Now we can repeat this over and over, and it sounds great if you let the G and B strings ring out together. Like so. We can also play this same lick starting on this blue note of F here, at the 8th fret on the A string. I find in this position it works better to hammer on to the next note rather than slide, but it's the exact same notes: F, F sharp A, F, F sharp A. So that's our 2 3-note licks, the Chuck Berry and the blue note triplet. So here we go with the track, and just hear how these licks really take the energy up a level. Now let's put everything we've learned together. So to recap, we've got the 1 root note approach, the 2-note licks, which were the resolution from below, the resolution from above, and the blue note bend, and then the 3-note licks, which were the Chuck Berry and the blue note triplet. And with these simple ideas, we can now build a full and complete blues solo. Take a listen. So I do hope that was useful. Anyone wanting the tab and backing track, check the Patreon link below, and I'll see you in the next video.